Let me tell you, I'm the chairman of the Texas Motorcycle Safety Coalition. There's about 8,000 different opinions on how to get about saving lives in motorcycles. It's like herding cats. It's never boring though, but you gotta move around all the time. So I'm gonna be moving around some. The Texas Motorcycle Safety Coalition is an initiative that we started, 2008, Patty, somewhere around there we began. And I've been involved in meetings with the Texas Motorcycle Safety Coalition since 2008. I was still employed, or gainfully employed, I should say, in the Texas Department of Public Safety. And I've been involved in it since its very inception. It's a very, very good organization, and it's very, very effective, even though sometimes it is very, very contentious. Who are my fellow board members and Team SC members here? Okay. We have just all types of different opinions on how to go about saving the lives of motorcyclists in the state of Texas. If you look at our mission statement, what we try to promote is saving lives, reducing crashes, reducing serious injuries related to crashes. That's what we want to do. If I asked how many of you were interested in doing that, everybody would raise their hand because you're all interested in doing that. If I were to ask you, what's our priority to get that done, I'd get all kinds of different responses. But the real value of the Motorcycle Safety Coalition is its membership, because it is very widely spread out and everybody's got different concerns. I'm involved in motorcycle safety training now, so I have a viewpoint on motorcycle safety and how to save lives. You can imagine it involves a lot to do with training. We have a lot of motorcycle rights organizations who are there. It has a lot to do about freedom, personal choice, right? We have a lot of Share the Road program initiatives. We have a lot of things going on there. The problem is in motorcycle safety in the state of Texas, just like in every other state of the union, there ain't that much bucks to go around, right? And no bucks, no buck ride. It's just that simple. So funding is always an issue, but the reality is the good part of the Motorcycle Safety Coalition is it gets everybody's viewpoint out there. Everybody's viewpoint is out there. So we can do some things that are very synergistic by doing that. So our approach is legislative. So we're working strongly with legislative work. Motorist awareness, we got a lot of work done there. I Ride for Tomorrow, Look, Learn, Live. We've got a lot of accomplishments done since 2008. And we've set some priorities moving forward. Because we always need to move forward. We always need to think strategically. So the value of the Texas Motorcycle Coalition is not a one-point focus or viewpoint on how to reduce fatalities. Because we are all going to have to work together to get the numbers to go down. We're going to have to work together. And sometimes, even though we don't agree, we agree to disagree and we move forward on things. You all have this little brochure inside your packet. At some point in time, at your leisure, take a look at what our accomplishments have been to this date. And think about membership in the Motorcycle Safety Coalition, if you're not already a member. Or think about some type of committee membership within the Texas Motorcycle Safety Coalition. We don't meet that often. It's not going to be that big a time investment for you. But it is very rewarding because we are working towards saving the lives of fellow motorcyclists. And that's very important to me, and I know it's very important to you. Now, we have three of the different committee chairs here today that are going to report a little bit on what their accomplishments have been and what they're working towards moving forward. I also chair the legislative committee. So I'd like to talk to you all about what our legislative initiatives have been and what we thought we were going to move forward. One of the big things was expanding the available courses available in the state of Texas for motorcycles. How many of you think that we have a problem in the state of Texas with folks who have been riding years and years and years, but they're unlicensed? How many of you think that's an issue? Okay. You know, the statistics seem to indicate that's an issue here. How that impacts motorcycle safety is almost all the studies I've seen, and they're limited, but the ones I've seen indicate that unlicensed motorcyclists are overrepresented in the number of fatalities. So it could be a training issue, right? And at least that's what the numbers look like. We don't know for sure, but that's what we think. And so part of our approach has to be to expand the kind of courses that would appeal to the person who's been riding a motorcycle for many, many years unlicensed. And so legislatively, we set that as one of our priorities. Okay? Now, we have to change some things in the transportation code to get that done. And we have gotten Senator Kirk Watson to sponsor a bill, Senate Bill 763, if anyone's interested, that it does some changes in the transportation code to free up the language, if you will, that would expand the amounts and types of classes available to motorcycle riders in the state of Texas that would be more appropriate for them. If that makes sense. Is that PC enough where I didn't upset anybody? I'm not a real PC guy, but I'm trying real hard. Okay. Also, another one of our, probably our number one priority is funding. General Revenue Fund 501 is the Motorcycle Safety Education Fund account. Has everybody heard of that? It's a fund that inside the Transportation Code, it says that every time you go down and you get your initial Class M license or a renewal for that Class M license, $5 out of that renewal goes into General Revenue Fund 501. Transportation Code, that fund may be used only to defray the cost of the Motorcycle Safety Education Unit, which resides within the Department of Public Safety. Several of their illustrious members are back on the back row, and they look like they're even awake. What's the problem with that is that, like so many other dedicated funds in the state of Texas, it's being held. It generates somewhere between $800,000 to $1.2 billion every fiscal year. That money has not been used for 5 years for that purpose. DPS motorcycle safety unit's been funded out of general revenue, and it's funded through actually the driver license strategy within the agency. It's $14.2 million in there. But that's just a little drop in the bucket of the $5.2 billion of dedicated funding that's being used to certify the budget currently in the state of Texas. So it's been our efforts, the efforts of TMRA, the efforts of TMRA2, the efforts of ABA, to try to go down to your legislators and say, please release the money. Please release the money. Motorcyclists want to pay for their own safety. They want to do that. But they don't want their money just sitting over here in limbo. Now, we just have not been real successful with that to this point. And whether or not we'll ultimately be successful, don't know. But we're going to keep on trying. And on Friday. The reason why it's so important is Dave Metcalf showed you the numbers of the students trained. It keeps on going up. The demand goes up. So I'm glad to see that. Personally, every person that's riding a motorcycle is one of those cars I don't worry about. That's just me. I don't want to, make any of my locator friends mad, but that's just how I feel. I ride a motorcycle every day. So I want that money to be dedicated to where it goes. Because when it doesn't, the ultimate funding for the motorcycle safety unit has a tendency to drop. And you saw it. Training numbers go up. What's their funding done? It's gone down. Historically, it's at about $1 million annually per fiscal year. It's historically what it's been. And then about 5 years ago, it started to drop. Wavered a little bit, and now the last, I think, 2 fiscal years, they're off 25%. They're down to $740,000, which is nothing for the agency. But you have to keep in mind the realities of the situation is that DPS has a whole bunch of things that it has to run, and motorcycle safety is just one little bitty bit of it. It's the same thing with textile. Here, y'all got tons of things y'all got to do. Motorcycle safety is just one little bit of it. Okay? So it's up to folks like us who are really involved in this and really interested in it to bring it to the forefront. We need to bring it to the forefront. We're trying to do that legislatively with some changes to expand the motorcycle safety. Dave didn't expand on this, but right now, any one of you could throw some kind of little bulletin up on Craigslist and say, I train you to be a better motorcycle rider. Come visit me. I charge you $100. You'll be here half a day. And you'll be better when you leave. And you just sign up all the people you want to and make $100 a pop. And you may or may not be a good motorcycle rider. And you can give them some kind of training. Even though the law says you can't do that because you have to be certified through the Department of Public Safety, there is no criminal penalty. So there isn't anything they can do about it. It's been like that since 1983. Those are the kind of things we have to fix. Because we want riders trained by folks who are trained to train riders. It's just got to be that way. So this legislative action hopefully will do that. We've tried or had the thought process of trying to limit the liability of property owners. How many sponsors have I got in here who actually run a school? Okay. How difficult is it for you to find a location to conduct training?
It's easier to get all your teeth pulled.
Yeah, it's easy to get teeth pulled, but things. And that's about right. And there's a tremendous liability concern amongst property owners. Plus, there's tremendous requirements for range signs. It's very, very difficult for us to find locations to train riders. Okay. Trying to get, well, we tried this session to limit the liability of property owners who actually have people who are licensed and certified to provide training, but I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Really what's going to go, I think this session of the legislature is the expansion of the motorcycle course offerings, strengthening the motorcycle safety unit's ability to get their job done and certify riders doing it.
Could you let us know what is available besides the beginning course?
Yeah, there's about 20 courses I think approved now. The basic rider course, that's another conundrum. The basic rider course is required right now for you to get for your initial issuance of a Class M license. And the way the transportation code is written, it's strongly worded towards the Motorcycle Safety Foundation's basic rider course. Well, that's a great course. I teach that thing just about every weekend. But there's some problems with it. The problems are that if you've got somebody who's ridden a motorcycle for 20 years, got away from motorcycling, now they want to go back onto a motorcycle. Guess what? They don't want to spend 2.5 days on my 125cc motorcycle in a parking lot, learning how to use the clutch. Okay, they think that's a little demeaning. Okay, so it's not really appropriate for all riders. Another real issue we have, and this is an issue for returning veterans as well, is they want to get a license to ride a trike. Either they have some kind of physical disability or whatever the case may be, and they want to ride a trike. Well, under the current statutes, they're limited to this. They can either take a basic rider course on a two-wheel motorcycle, which is not appropriate for trike operation because they operate totally differently, or they can wait their turn and hopefully get a course of the MSF's three-wheel VRC. And then you teach that class. How often do y'all get that?
Once a month.
Once a month. And there's 6, is that right, Dave? 6, I think there's 6 providers in the state of Texas for trike operators. And it's tremendously expensive. The way the MSF has it laid out, there's no way I could offer that course. Because I have to provide the machines. They're about, what, 20, 30,000 a piece. Okay, and I can only train 3 people at a time. I'm not a rocket scientist, but the money's just not there. Okay, so that puts trike riders in a conundrum. So we have to expand the offerings, especially for the trike operators. Now there are several advanced rider classes available in the state of Texas. I give 3 of them. And there's several of them available. Any sponsor that's in this room can tell you what's the problem with advanced courses. I can't sell them. I can hardly give them away. I have a basic rider course 2 about every quarter. I might have 3 or 4 people. I get total control, advanced riding clinic level 1. I'm lucky if I can sell one of those riders. Same thing with Motor Pro Challenge. There is something within our culture that tells us that once we get a little bit comfortable with our basic level skills, that we know everything we need to know about motorcycles. That's another issue we need to find a way around that. Education. Motorcycling is a lifelong learning experience. And if you don't have that in your head, you'll never become proficient at the sport. It ain't like jumping in your car and pushing some pedals. Never has been, never will be. And it's getting more and more complex as the performance of our machines increases. All right, along with the course offerings for the trikes, just as I've said before, someone else said before too, because the machines operate totally differently, when we expand these course offerings for trike riders, when they have more trike classes available to them, we need to make sure that they have their own licensing scheme that applies directly to them. If I have somebody that goes through a 3-wheel basic rider course, they're going to be fairly proficient at operating a 3-wheel motorcycle. But they will not know anything about the operation of a 2-wheel motorcycle. They're 2 different animals. And because of that, part of the legislative changes you'll see here will build a restriction code on the license so that when they get their completion certificate, they'll go to DPS, they'll plunk that little thing down on the table, and they'll still get a Class M license, but it will be restricted to the operation of the 3-wheel motorcycle. That makes sense to everybody. Okay? Now, does not address the problem of someone who can operate a 2-wheel motorcycle who then jumps on a trike. I don't know how we're going to address that. But at least it's a step in the right direction. Okay? What we tried to do something with the funding, and TMSC and ABA and TMRA2, we all have different ideas on the funding. I can tell you my idea on the funding, my approach to the funding. When I went to the several times went down to the legislature to talk to them about was let's make sure that Fund 501 is used only for funding the motorcycle safety unit. Okay? That's the only thing you use the money for. And then my thoughts were, let's build a separate dedicated fund that would then fund the motorist awareness campaign. So it would have a separate funding stream. So we wouldn't have to both be pulling from the same pot. That makes sense to me. So that's what the approach was. And the separate funding stream was going to be driven by motorcycle registrations. So I think I put $2 or $3 down for every motorcycle registration. That's somewhere about $1 million every year. So then TxDOT's not stuck with an unfunded mandate, and they got some money that they can actually work with, doesn't have to pull away from something else. Okay? And I was told by everybody I talked to, it's just not going to happen. They don't even want to talk about dedicated funding down there, and they certainly don't want to talk about a new dedicated fund. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to keep on going down. So along with TMRA2, ABA, other members, we're still going down there trying to do something about dedicated funding issue. Okay, any questions about legislative issues or things that we could be working on? Go ahead.
Well, I know from other states, you don't have to have a safety program to get a license. But when you come to Texas, and not most of the military guys that's now in the end, will tell you, you have to take the safety course in Texas to get a license. And no other state does. How are you going to fix that for their safety drivers?
Well, I didn't hear all that, but we're talking about a requirement to take a course to get a license, right?
From another state, you have a license.
Right.
How do you transfer it without having to take the basic again?
You can transfer it. Initially there was a problem when people who were coming from another state, and I know I talked to one of these guys personally, they'd come in from California, I believe this guy was. He had a Class M license in California, had it for years, came to Texas. The driver's license department interpreted the change in the law, this was last legislative session, as meaning that the initial issuance of a Texas Class M license required that you take an MSF course. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That was fixed.
As long as that license is current, valid, and up to date, Texas is assuming that you took the course. We're not going to question you. As long as the license that you were trying to transfer to Texas has a motorcycle endorsement and is current and valid and up to date, that endorsement will transfer to your Texas license.
They wouldn't do it in Georgia.
From where?
Georgia.
But it has to be the driver's license office, because it will transfer. You have
Yeah,
to tell them.
if anybody runs across that issue, all they need to do is contact DPS, because they have an uninformed DPS worker there somewhere. But I think we probably got, that's what we were thinking. For about 2 or 3 months, it was a real issue, and that, it took effect September 1st, 2009.
Because they're not familiar with what other license states look like, their license, and what their endorsement looks like, or anything else. So it's kind of half of one and 6 of another. You know, you're assuming that they're going to make it look like their Georgia license. So you're going to have to let them know, oh, I have a motorcycle endorsement on here. But Texas will accept it if it's a valid, current, up-to-date license.
It took me a year to get a driver's license because they made me release from Georgia.
Goodness.
Go ahead, sir.
Quick question on that. Military member coming from Utah. Utah has restrictions based on the size of bike that you test on. Does Texas?
No.
Because in Utah, if I ride a 649 cc or smaller, I have a restriction. So if I come here now, I can ride with the big boys and not have to deal with the training.
You man.
Just saying.
There you go.
Welcome to
Welcome
Texas.
to Texas.
I heard a little bit about it earlier. This whole problem with drinking and riding motorcycles, buddies, we got to fix that. Yeah, that's almost half of our fatality. I don't want to sit here and point fingers at car drivers being the biggest problem. And we're the biggest problem. We're untrained and we're riding too much out there after drinking. So we need to look in the rearview mirror too. We want to really seriously address the problem. Okay? So at some point in time, we may have to look at a reduced BAC level for motorcycle operators. That's going to go over like something in a punch bowl. But at some point in time, you just got to take a hard look at the problem and fix what the problem is. You got to drill down and find out what it is first. That's what research is for. You know, find out what the problem is. Kathy, would you like to give us a little bit of something on safety and awareness?
Do I have to come up there? I'm gonna stand right here.
Yeah, he's a rider.
Y'all can all hear me. You can hear me all the way across the parking lot. TJ, I'm here from here. What's up, dude? As a committee chair for the Safety and Awareness Committee, we work on different projects throughout the state to bring awareness to the community. But a lot of what we do too is we get calls from people asking, like Pop said, where can we get money? Where can we get support? Where can we get that, this and that? And after 8 years of attending these coalitions and these forums, guess what? I know who to tell you to call to get the money. Okay? They're not going to give you a check, but they'll pay for flyers for your event. They'll print the flyers for you. Okay? They'll give you promotional items to give out at your events. Okay? All of these agencies, this money is already allocated for different things to help us. So you have to know what to ask for. Okay? And that's one of the things that I've learned from being with the coalition, being with the forum. We put on events. We did Ride Like She Did in San Antonio, 2010, 2011. We didn't do one in 2012 because my best friend in the whole world died, and say we didn't do much anything last year. But we're going to get back on board and do some more stuff here in 2013 in San Antonio and everywhere around the state. And the thing of it is like she's saying, it's grassroots events, y'all. It's getting your club to get out there and spread the safety and awareness message is going to make the difference. Because these guys in the government, they're trying to help us, but you know what? They're working right now on trying to get money for 2014. Okay? The money for right now is already spent. We don't like waiting that long, do we? Okay, that's all we got to say.
Okay, any questions for Kathy? Mr. Keith Gravel is going to,
Yeah, give you my card. Anybody wants a card, come get it. We're done.
Mr. Keith Gravel is going to give you a little update on the Education Committee.
Okay, well, Jude's covered a lot of it already. The education, let's face it, if we don't become better riders and take responsibility for our own actions, it's not going to do a whole lot regardless of what everybody else on the road does. So we've been looking at this. I was part of that motorcycle crash countermeasures workshop in January, and we went over the, we kind of summarized it into 5 basic points, starting from the biggest down to the littlest. And guess what? Money's got to do with all of it. Number one were the things improving the type and quality of motorcycles used for rider training. Without the money of the DPS, they can't do it. That's not something you're going to get for free. Second, increase reallocated funding for the motorcycle safety training. Again, legislature's going to have to do this. There's no other way to do it unless you got a rich uncle. Updating the quality assurance plan to increase the number of site instructor visits, standardizing review and remediation process. As a provider, we are contracted by DPS or licensed under DPS to provide training. That way, when you come to a class, you can be assured that you're getting what you're paying for. But somebody's got to keep an eye on that. And that is what the DPS MSU does. But that stuff isn't free. It costs a lot of money to go on around and to keep us on our toes. So again, funding. Second thing was promoting the importance of rider training to new and experienced motorcyclists. the ongoing training that Jude was talking about. Now, there are ways, and Peggy just brought them up, you know, by going to events, by doing these type of things, that we can go ahead and get that done. But again, there's a little bit of money involved there, some of it through tech stuff, through their ad campaigns and all, and we can have some impact on where that money is spent. Revising and updating the motorcycle operator's manual, translating into Spanish. You may not have noticed, but Spanish is becoming increasingly important. In Texas for training, we currently have only one Hispanic instructor in Houston that can conduct a bilingual class. That's in a city of 5.5 million people in the metro. That's not acceptable. But, you know, when the folks come in, yes, they should have. We can provide them with books, subtitles, Spanish tests, things like that. There's nothing like having somebody out in the lane be able to speak. That needs to be done. Expanding course availability for three-wheel vehicles. Okay, one of the things that we've been working on is an advanced level three-wheel course. Okay, they get them through the BRC, the three-wheel BRC, and we are one of the providers of that. Well, what then? If we're going to say that two-wheel motorcycles need to have ongoing training, it's kind of silly to say that three wheels don't. So we're working on that. Okay, all of these things have to fall under some kind of a central seal of approval, and that's something that Ray Brocky on the committee has put forth and we're working on also. We want to be able to put the Texas Motorcycle Safety Coalition seal of approval on things that are going to be a benefit. Now, I'd like to ask you, if you're interested in helping us get this stuff done and having some input, let me know, because we can take more people on the training and education today. This is where the meat of it's going to be. You just heard Jude say, our biggest enemy, what did Pogo say? We've met the enemy, and they is us. Yeah. We've got to get our own house in order to get this fixed.
Hey, any questions of Keith? All right, the only thing I have left is one more appeal. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Texas Motorcycle Safety Coalition, it's not boring. Lots of fun. It doesn't cost you anything, except a little bit of your time and gas money to drive to the meeting. Really would love to see some of the military guys out there. Usually they're held at the Gilchrist building in Bryan College Station. Go ahead, Rick.
How much does it cost to join?
Nothing.
How much does it pay?
The reward is priceless.
Twice as much as it costs to join.
All right, any other